Welcome to Free Friday. We're exploring the healing current of forgiveness. We're joining hands in the world here because in the Jewish traditions, this is us in preparation to the Day of Atonement. That when we come together in this way, it's a very, very thorough level of examination of all the vows that we made through the whole year and acknowledging to that which is and what needs more. And so that when we're coming here to this power of forgiveness, what we want to do is just explore the current itself, what it is, what it's for, how it works in your body. We want to join in this deeper aspect of the holiest day of the year and be able to feel the strength of our desert religions that marked spots, powerful spots, from the strength of the pyramids in Egypt to the power of Jerusalem, to that deep welling up of remembrance of the promised land. So let's take a nice big breath. Let's encourage an openness. We want to explore that strand of sacredness that moves through you very deeply as the veils are thinning. To feel that sense of, again, open, use your breath to open and to allow yourself to penetrate into the depth of your own sacred current, that which is, that which remembers. And bring it all the way down through the base of the spine. Feel that opening unto earth. So that through this passage, we have many realizations, many awakenings. And the purpose of forgiveness is to get rid of any distortion that you have held that would protect this sacred current. Any distortion in your being where you were not capable of honoring the grace of this, so that you stood in a level of conditioned lowliness, not good enough, can't do it right, all the ways that we would hold ourselves in less than, and in this day, in denial of the power of the sacred, the power of your remembrance. One more breath, open. And feel the strength. Feel the courage. Renew your commitment. So allowing this thinning of the veils, allowing this strength of your center, I'm going to allow it to rest like a deep river. And we're going to go exploring to allow a place where our minds and our hearts can participate in these deep, sacred passages. So, to forgive. I love the play of words and what it is telling us. To forgiving says that whatever it is in your nature must give again. So what would be needing to be forgiven would be some place in your nature that basically closed down, put up a wall, created an aversion field to push away. Push away. The nature of this is not forgiving. It is basically, in the wound itself, is for protection. And there is a place where all of us have to accept that we need to be protected until we don't. Maybe that's the training wheels on the bicycle that allowed me to pedal as fast as I wanted to because I knew I had a balance point where I really couldn't fall over. That with this dynamic, to recognize that if we are in this hindrance, if we are locked behind this wall, the door basically is closed on both sides. Not only is this aversion pushing away whatever you feel is the wrong, pushing away whatever you sense is the difficulty, sealing it in a level of judgment that underneath we have the raw wound that's being protected. And I know for myself, as I look inside my own being, as I look out into the world, some of these wounds, they're just so big. The extensions of wars that we get a snapshot here in the moment that are thousands and thousands of years old, grudges, holding the sense of trying to find that place to belong. So that for me, when I go to some of these deep spaces of hurt, it isn't that by being able to stand in the healing process, that it means that it's gone or it's done. Many a shattering that I've gone through has left me with serious scar tissue. Places where we will not forget. In fact, we are encouraged not to forget. Because two things are really important. Number one, whatever has happened that has created this depth of pain in your own heart, heaven forbid that you would ever do that to another person. Heaven forbid. So there's times for me when I come to recognize that I was served some pretty hard lessons. Part of the healing process was to make sure that I do not have it in the propensity of me to use my power incorrectly, to use my power to get even, to use my power in that strength of attack. Dion Fortune was speaking of her time. She was an amazing metaphysics person, and she was in England during the World War II. She said that within the vow of the power that they held, because the lights and dark forces were running pretty rampant during that time, she said, we can protect, we can defend, but we are not allowed to attack. Do you know what kind of discipline that takes? Where have we heard this before? In every nonviolent movement that has been here, it's always brought that sense of let the buck stop here. Don't provoke it just in the sense because you feel like you need to get even or make your mark. Now, for me, I only sense that whatever goes on within you is yours and yours to decide what is right for you. I do not feel in any level of authority to say what should or shouldn't be happening in someone else's world. There are times people have asked me to be the divine judge of someone else's character or destiny. And I just don't have the bandwidth. I don't know enough. I'm not wise enough. It's like, be like asking a 5-year-old what happens when you graduate from high school. It's like, there's just certain places when waiting and listening, like our ear against the sacred, is a far better use of our time. And that's what this time is for in the High Holy Days. And in this time of atonement is we are allowed to listen very, very closely to the fabric of our own soul and what is necessary for us to do within this next step. So, to forgive would mean that whatever it is that has happened to me, that has tossed me into the dark, whatever that would be, the process of being able to forgive will be that I have a strength of inner light that can touch this part of me that has been taken away, has been lost. That it can touch that part of me and be able to bring a sense of presence. I use an analogy that was very helpful for me as I was wanting to track this, that acknowledged that in the beginning of any kind of shattering or explosion, exposure to excessive dark, whatever it be, that we imprint into that moment. I am that wound. We give rescue remedy to someone who just gets in a car accident and they come out and they're going into shock and they don't know really what it is that even happened for a while. And we take them for walks and we bring them into nature and we invite them to go swim. Rescue remedy is the remedy of this day. So that this first imprint, I am my wound, it creates a hole that will be a weakness, that will call you to it when you're ready. That's why we often make prayers to live long, because maybe for some of us, it's going to take a while to get there. So that when we come to this aspect of, I am my wound, I am my own transgression, light or heavy, that there is a call, whenever it can be, that asks for it to make a contact with the wiser part of yourself. In that moment, stage 2, I heal my wound. I have a relationship. I know I'm sensitive. I know where it is that I could get plugged in. I know how much darkness I can take into my body before it is that I lose my light. So in this second stage, that's healing this transgression, this dark space, that out of necessity sealed itself into its own private universe, or shall we say, its own private little hell realm, until we can come in consciousness to touch that place. That often in the I am my wound, it's all about what happened to you, what it was that inflicted, or on the other aspect, if you're strong into perfectionisms, what you were supposed to be in order to stop something from happening that you had no control over. Second stage becomes a dialogue, a communication, a sense of connection. You can think of it as the building of your inner light, as you are recognizing that a larger perspective is necessary. That if we are locked in the blame, and that the reason something's happening is because the force of something else running over me, in that I heal my wound, there is a place that starts to come home and say, you know, I am here. I am a part of this. I may have instigated it even bigger, had amnesia. I had a friend that was sharing with me what happened in this relation, very tumultuous. And oh, he said this. And I mean, I'm getting all riled up. He said this and he said that. And he said this. And then offhanded, just a very small little comment. She told me what she said to him. I thought, oh my God, these two match each other. They were like made for each other in the sense of being out there swinging shitballs at each other. It's like when you can know your power in this process, you can heal. If it's all about the sense of what other did to you, if it's all about those bad guys over there, that situation that deserves to be annihilated, if it's all about that, then you have to live in your fortress. You have to live in that to some degree of hell realm. So here we are, stage 2, builds relationship. Builds relationship, meaning that the wiser, bigger perspective, stronger awareness in you can start giving to this collapsed energetic field, this place of difficulty and hurt that basically had no voice. When we were playing in therapy with this, it often would be some part of an inner being, very young, hiding under the bed like a lost little kitty, frightened. And the higher self, the wise one, is here with a little bowl of milk going, kitty, come on, little kitty. I know you're hungry. Come on over, right? This is that healing tone and that healing voice. That if you can stand even there in this willingness to claim the part of yourself that got hurt, that got lost, great healing happens on the planet. The third dynamic, now that we are in relationship, is that we recognize that this part of our nature is a very sensitive part of our awareness. The places that have been wounded live in hypersensitivity. The hypersensitivity, I don't think that goes away just because you shook hands and went, okay, it's all right, I'm good now. The hypersensitivity may be why you got wounded in the first place, because of this sensitive ray. So here we are. I heal my wound, giving back to all the different situations and hurts that mark and hold you in a certain place of restriction. We come to the third element. I transform my wound. I transform my wound, meanings that you start looking to the powers of sensitivity that has happened in this situation and learn to use your wisdom and your care, your compassion, to be able to give to others in a way that, because you understand, you're not going to make some kind of fancy little theory of how they should do this or do that. You just stand in the presence of someone else's woundedness and you listen. And in that, you can give from that place, which is where I came to this play on words that said, this space allows us to give the wisdom that we gained from all the transgressions or difficulties that we may have had to experience. Now, I understand that to do this takes great courage. To stand in front of yourself and feel who you really are. And sometimes that's not always pretty, right? To be able to feel the depth of what you are and what you've come to do may not just be all the fancy, big, save the world kinds of stuff that we were fed in the 70s and the 80s. It might be that we're brought here to heal transgression. In some ways, it would make more sense that if we're living in a time that is so controversial and so violent and so dark in certain pockets of it, that we would be here in service to something new being born. So we are tapping into today the healing current of that. The healing current of forgiveness. So that as we come, we have a sense of listening inside. I think the first acts of forgiveness that give power to this current is the ones where we've lost parts of our own nature. Something's happened and we just stopped that developmental cycle. We just stopped letting that part of our nature come forward. We basically covered it up. So when we come back to that place of forgiveness, there is a huge release. In my little one, my younger year, I had a neighbor who was a bit of a sexual deviant and used to kind of come after. So I learned pretty quick, you never be alone with this person. And I learned very quickly how to leave my body and go absolutely absent I always wondered, where did I go in those situations as someone was messing with me on a level that was just too much darkness too soon. So here I am in the process of forgiving this situation. And you know what I found? It blew me away. Right in the shield of protection that lived in me is his face. That pissed me off. It was like, not only have I had to deal with the place of losing some level of depth of innocence and connection, cutting off from humanity at a point of great vulnerability and basically lifting me into the trees and the powers of nature. But it was like, why would his face be in my deep belly? I can't say that I totally understand it even yet, although I'm sure there are various ways it comes. But I got imprinted. I got branded in a certain way that when I came to recognize that the decision that I made during that point was that I could not trust anyone with power around me, and I could not trust the power in me because it was absent. Do you know what I spent my whole life doing? Regaining and revitalizing that young, innocent core. Was it necessary for me to go and do something there that before I even figured out what happened on some level, you basically land back in your body. And I looked at this situation. I felt my hatred. I felt my angers, but I didn't have it specifically towards that man. I had it kind of to all of humanity. I created Darth Vaders, symbolizing this power of destruction. They're active. They're here still. It's all over the place. That in the part of my own nature, until I could forgive myself for leaving myself so absent, even though I had no option to make it any different, there came to have to give a voice of apology for abandoning my body and abandoning a deeper part of my nature. Lucky for me, I grew up in redwood trees. I grew up with daffodils and trilliums, that my energy moved from this aspect of what I considered a very polluted and dark earth, a place that all lived was, as far as I could see in my own self, powers of harm and evil. It was a very mythical, rather rough time, shall we say. When I came, I then created this split. So I lived in this power of nature spirit, kind of like a little fairy goddess. I only wanted to be alone. I only wanted to live in the blossoming wild rhododendrons that grew in the neighborhood for miles and miles. Gorgeous, gorgeous nature. So what does this have to do with forgiveness? This was the first stage. So we don't have that it just lives in some kind of dark hell. You move your consciousness that is sacred to a place that is safe. So what do I sense now that's important is the power that I expanded into to create a safe place for this little fairy child. All the powers that is in me that kept that separate now have to create a level of connection. So I no longer get to be afraid of myself. I get to take this branded image of the neighbor and give him back to the soil of the earth. I looked to him and sensed that he was in such a deep trance that there would be really nothing that could be said or not said. I did share it with my mom, and my mom stood up big for me. We didn't visit him anymore. So that it's like at that, this place of remembrance that allows us to come to the parts of ourself that may be the most hidden. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. That may be the most injured. A wall of judgment and anger and hurt that basically is ready to condemn all of humanity because of the pain that I may have endured. You can understand why forgiveness and the healing current of this is so active right now, because all these different kinds of fragments are breaking down. And that we can't live in these little boxes of separation and hurt. Aurora gave us a prophecy right at the beginning of this power awakening. I always asked, it's like, 'cause it was a channeling experience. It's like, well, why me? That was always the question. Why me? It's like, I'm just a simple little darling. I mean, it's like, why me? It's like, because you can. And when the sense of what was giving, the light will follow the light, and the dark will eat itself up. So that which needs to be cycled within itself, these elements, where are you going to stay in that separate world of hurt that more than likely is going to keep you blank and in an absence more than the feeling, the pain that comes when we first wake up, like pains of birthing a much deeper part of your own nature. So let's circle around. We've come in a lot of different points on the circle. So we come and say, wow, today is the highest of holy days in the calendar of the Jewish New Year, that it is asking for us to make peace, to bring atonement to anything within us that has missed the mark, so that we look at ways that we are unconscious, ways that we haven't really lived up to our own expectations, ways that in the desire to want to do good, we did harm. So we're looking at all of this as a sense that this is what's happening in the sort of in every tradition, we share the core of the rituals that are taking place, because they aren't created by a religion. A religion is formed around the astrological and energetic influences coming down at the time, because it's easier to concentrate when you have some means of ritual, some means of moving in these currents and these energies. So we just celebrate a lovely coincidence. We then acknowledge that the power of forgiving is the ability to give again. And the places that we will give from are the most sensitive, maybe for some of us, the most battle weary of whatever it is that is coming to our nature. That we're ready to free ourselves of parts of our nature that we may not have known how to be with or how to work with. So we came with a simple model for the personality to say, in the beginning, as I'm in shock, I'm going to take rescue remedy. I am my wound. I am, my whole nervous system is in this experience and this reaction. My whole sense of self is caught, and in that, I am that. I am the lost child. I am the wounded. I am the woman that got raped, right? Our identity lives so deeply. And we don't need forgiveness for little minor shuffles of, sorry, I ate the sandwich. We're talking about very primary portals in your being that are asking to open at this time that will need to be cleared, because at a certain point, whatever's in that filter, as you open up that gate, will vibrate that quality into the world. It is so much easier to face your transgressions before they take form than living in some kind of solid state, opinion, and energetic field that you basically have to sort it through as karma. So we acknowledge I am my wound, and that with that, I am present. As I become more present, I am bringing healing to this part of my nature. You would not know how many rounds that I have had to go through around rape and pillage. It would hit my body and I would just cringe. I would pull back. I would sense that it happened before. I could remember these pieces. Why do I hear needing to heal this? The introduction of sexual transgression was the simplest. I was not defiled. I was just fiddled with. But at the same time, it was enough to give me an understanding of what this deeper portal was going to awaken to, what power would need to clear, and what new level of energetic was going to be given as this lives in its wisdom state. According to some, these are such deep imprints in your record that you may come back again in another life simply because you were not able to rectify that song. And I don't think that is considered a sense of, hey, bad girl, you didn't do your homework. I think what that means is whatever we didn't get done today, tomorrow will bring another opportunity. As time doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense right now, it may be that all time is now and there is no before and after. So this right of sensitivity that we come and we recognize that this part of our sensitive self that had to sort through these deep and difficult passages of light and dark, the vestiges of our Piscean swimming away, the aversion, the hierarchies. I mean, it's all in there. So here we come then to this third element. I now receive the power. I receive the current that allows me to give again. I receive the current of now that allows me to give again. Not giving in a way that makes walls and gets even, but a giving that allows you to recognize from the deepest of your heart what you need to do to claim your power and use it for good. There is a space in all of us. I think it's getting bigger every day, don't you? It's very pure. It's like the sense of whatever this light will follow the light aspect that was in the prophecy is becoming evident in our nature, not because we're going somewhere into light, but because we are illuminating our core. And so that our lightness comes through our being with a perspective that allows us to hold things a little bit more lightly. When I came to the sense of the dark will eat itself up, there was something that to me was what would be needed. Where I went to was my compost pile. I'm really into compost piles. And that's what happens. I take this pretty much leftover smelly stuff, put it in the middle of my compost pile, come back in the next spring, and I've got rich soil. So that we could look at it not as if there is a sense of destruction, but more renewal. That renewal is what happens in I heal my wound. A way that some part of your nature that you didn't quite know how to be with can reform, awaken, and energize on a whole new level. Okay, so let's do our 1, 2, 3. My number ones, I'm asking you to heal by becoming conscious of where it is that you need healing. It's we go to the doctor says, hey, you're a little short on this, or you need a little bit more of that, or and it's like, and so we recognize that to heal we have to bring something in. There's a missing ingredient, there's something that needs to be given. Healing is a very powerful and potent equation, so that if you are one, I want you to reach into that part of your nature that loves, that part of your nature that you can trust in your own, and allow that power to get stronger in your awareness. And that sometimes there's certain things that are given. It's like, I think of this as frequency. I take flower essences to rebalance my field. It's not so much that the essence is doing it, but what I find is because it's in the written word, as I bring the essence, it gives me a sense of the pattern that's actually coming into place. This power of healing, you decide what degree that you need or where you're going to reach to. Is this an aspect that has been living behind a hard wall of judgment? Is this a part of your nature that you just have no sense of, so you keep it hidden? You say that it's worthless or empty simply because you don't know what it is, right? It's like, as we come that power to heal, it will define itself in your nature. And I'm going to ask you to keep this energetic moving for all of us here in our 1, 2, 3s through the entire weekend. To use this rite of passage to come close to the veil that may say that some of my deepest scar tissue, some of the hurts behind, that they heal. And we sense that in our bodies. Number 2s, concentrate on transformation. Transformation. Transformation gives us a sense that it was this and it has formed into this. The simplest of alignments, right? It's liquid. I call it my cake almost as it's going in the oven, to it's a springy, bright little celebration of life that's going to say happy birthday, right? It's like the soupy stuff was the foundation. This puffy, energetic is that expression. It transforms. It's like it doesn't lose its base, but it gives a power in you that allows you to come and sense that you can trust yourself. To transform allows us to recognize that we're not going to have the same relationship, the same story, the same connection to that which was our defilement. We're not going to have the need to run away from certain feelings in our own nature because we can stand with them. As you are present, transformation happens. We're not making something happen. We are simply there, and it becomes. Transformation allows that sense of you taking form in a new level of your own consciousness. Number 3s. I encourage you to give. If this is forgiving, we're saying, okay, I'm all for it. I'm going to give. What you have to know is it could be a little vulnerable. There's going to be maybe some slight memories that said, wow, if I reveal this part of myself, it might be that that old memory is going to reenact itself. If that's the worst thing that happens, at least you know where you are on the map. But more than 90% of the time, something new shows up. And so that this dynamic is the last step within every initiation where you have gotten your new software, you are all good to go, but you have no idea what it is. And so that as it starts to print itself out, as it starts to open and demonstrate it in the field, as it comes down and is able to manifest as a state of love, a state of wonder, a state of acceptance, a space of forgiveness, as it loves, then you in your person, your personality, the part of you that goes and says, who am I? What's going on? You actually get to experience it. This is the serving of the cake. The baker may have a pretty confident relationship to its recipe, but it is the tasting of the cake, and they're always a little different. In the power of giving, you are expressing a part of your sensitive nature in a way that may have not ever seen the light of day before. And as you express it, as you give it, it becomes the foundation of your awareness. But you have to keep giving. That sometimes, and you'll see this really powerfully, that big movements on the planet come from injustice. All of our civil rights movements, our nonviolent movements all around the world marked an aspect of slave culture that was absolutely an ultimate sin and darkness filled with pain. And yet the sense of the strength of liberation that could come, that would allow that power of equality and connection to be shared. Maybe not always in the generation that was bringing it forward, but it is given. It is given to the children. And so our forgiveness work here may just be that. It may be for our children, that we recognize and put a little bit more attention and effort to being good carekeepers of the earth, of calling the attention of a little one who's lost somewhere to say, Auntie's here. We're here. So this healing current of forgiveness, it is said by some to be the highest form of healing that there is, because it releases the shackles, it releases the thought forms and awakens us into a place of expression, a place of freedom that we are still exploring. So this power in our 1, 2, 3, we come to this aspect to heal. As you know, all 3 numbers will cycle through as the week unfolds. This power to heal, this power to remember that which is underneath the hurt, the power of transformation, and the space of awakening, which allows us to share, to give, to open. So let's just take a moment, close your eyes for just a minute here, and let's feel this healing current of forgiveness moving through our being. Nice big breath, and just sense it from above your head all the way down through the base of the spine. Feel it in the inner thighs. Feel it moving right down through the center of your feet, and allow it like a beautiful waterfall of light to wash away any aspect of denial or hiding of your being. And that when we come to it, we don't come with fear and threat of the defilement. We come with a liberation that says, I am not that. And for a moment, we're able to sense this deep core of sanctity, this deep power of the sacred. So let's just have a nice big breath. Let's invoke this depth of wonder. Let's allow the beauty of opening to our winter cycle, to our place of deep rest. For some of us, the healing that has been invoked here today will move us all the way through our winter celebrations, right to that moment where the bud is in blossom in the spring. For this, we are grateful. For this, we are ready to share and to open in parts of our nature that we may not yet have known were capable of life. Nice big breath. In my time here with you, I felt incredible space of light. There was no place that I touched defilement, even in its darkest corner, and felt the need to dim my light or to move away. I felt the same in you. And so we are simply here to acknowledge the depth of work that you have done through this incarnation, and maybe even before, that allows you to recognize the strength and the power of your gift. Keep giving. Nice big breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can stretch and open your eyes. Wow, this is beautiful. I really appreciate our time together and that we could go this deep. We're so privileged to be with each other. I feel very honored to be the voice of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I love you both.
Thank you.
That was powerful.
Yes, I know.
That's all I can say.
Sometimes they just come through, you know.
Yeah, they come through.
Hurricanes around here, you know. Me and Melton's been hanging out a lot, so.
I know the feeling. Yes, I do. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Birthday.
Oh yeah, my birthday's coming soon. Yay!
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Nancy and Errol and everybody. So beautiful.
Thank you, Bridget.
And Shana Tova, Nancy and Errol.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're ready.
It started.
It started, yes, sirree. We thought kick it off good.
And happy Thanksgiving for the Canucks.
Yes, yes. We had our Thanksgiving dinner in honor of you, so.
It's this weekend.
I know, we started that.
Lots of love.
Thank you. Aloha.